so far we've covered quite some things about sketching and the fundamentals of sketching and all of those things. Today we want to do a little bit more of, would I call it advanced sketching? It's not really advanced, but a little bit more of sketching, but we will be creating objects too, like we'll be extruding and doing some other things with those objects, with those sketches that we do. So follow me as I work on this. So I'm going to create a parametric part, and right now I would like to create a box, a simple box. So this is what I want to create, a simple block that looks like this. So if you already followed our previous tutorials, this is a piece of cake for you, and I'm just going to go ahead to create this base, 30 by 50 millimeters, I believe. Then I'm going to extrude it over a height of 20 by using the pad operation. So first thing, I create a new sketch here. I click on the XY plane. After clicking on the XY plane, then I create my rectangle, and I can just fill it in. Like, instead of creating the rectangle then dimensioning it separately, I can just type in. You can see that the 41.11 for instance is highlighted, so I can just type in my dimensions there and then it will dimension it automatically. So I'll just put in, I believe it's 50 by 30 millimeters, and let me confirm that. Okay, yes, 50 by 30 millimeters. So and I'm creating another box by mistake, so I just escape that. So I have my box here and it is fully constrained, so I'm just going to click on close, and now I have the sketch here. So to make it a physical object, or to make it an object that has 3 dimensions, I'm just going to extrude it using the pad operation over there, and the height is a height of 20 millimeters. So I'm going to change this here. This is where you change the length of the extrusion or the length of the pad operation. So I'm going to change it to 20 millimeters, and that's a preview. So I'm going to click on OK. So this is a simple object that I created, very, very simple object, and I'm going to save this. Is there any need to save this? But let me save it. So let me just save it as practice 1, and then I'm going to create a new file now by pressing Command N on my Mac. It could be Control N on your keyboard on your Windows device. I want to create the next object now I have here, and this is the object that I have here. So there are different ways that you could create different things, but I'm going to be using a particular method for this at first, and then I will use another method to create it again, so that you can see different ways of doing it. So the first method I'm going to use is that I'm going to create this entire base. This is 60 by 120 millimeters, sorry, no, not 120, by 20 millimeters. So I'm going to create this base 60 by 20 millimeters, 60 by 50, but extruded through a height of 20 mm. So let me show you what I mean. So firstly, I'm going to create a sketch, click on the XY plane. I'm going to create my rectangle, and you see that I'm constraining it to the origin point because I want to, and then I'm just going to do that. Then let me confirm the dimensions. So we have 60 and we have 50 millimeters. I escape the rectangle tool, then I go to dimension, then this is 60, and then I dimension this line too, which is 50 millimeters. So it is fully constrained, and I can escape that dimension to then close the task. So now I have this sketch here, and I'm going to do the pad operation. The pad operation, I'm going to lift it by a height of 20 millimeters. You can see that the first step here is 20 millimeters. These are all in first angle projection, I believe. So we have the front. This is the front, like looking at it from here. And then we have the side view here, and then this is the top plane, like looking at it from the top. So we have 60 by 50 millimeters, but by a height of 20. So the height of the extrusion will be 20, and I'll click on OK. So now we have this box here, and the next thing I want to do is to do the next step here, this step here, which will be if you are looking at it from the top, right, it will be this and this two here. So I'm trying to figure out the dimensions now from the drawing. So that's 30. This length from here to here, I wish I could. Okay, let me try to from here. Okay, I still can't draw. Okay, but from here to here is 30 millimeters, and then the height is 30, so that will be 30 minus 20, that's 10. Okay, so these diagrams are a little bit tasking to read, but as an engineering student or as an engineer or as a designer, you should be able to figure out what is there. That's why I'm taking it slowly like this. So we have our next rectangle to be 30 by 10. That's the height here. So I'm going to create a sketch on this plane here. And how do I do that? I'm going to click on the plane, like the face of the object, and I'm going to click on this create sketch tool. And after I do that, it will put the sketch exactly on the plane, exactly on that face of the object. So now the next thing I'm going to do is that I am going to create that my rectangle. So if I click on the rectangle tool, and I'm trying to snap to the edges, but I can see that there is no constraint showing up for me except for the corner point here, but at the edges here there's no constraint showing up for me. So why is that? The reason is because I just escaped that. So the reason is because these lines, they are not in my, okay, of course this origin line is there, this axis line is there, but these lines, they are not in my new sketch that I'm creating. So I first need to project those lines into this new sketch. And how do I do that? I come to this tool here, create external geometry. So I click on it, and then I click on the lines that I want to project. So I click on this line, I click on this line, I click on this line, and I click on this line too. Then I escape that too. So now I have those lines here. They are faint, but I believe that you can see them glowing up when I move close to them. And I have the vertices here too, that I can snap my rectangle or anything I want to create to. So the next level is, you can see that it snaps to that, and then if I bring it close to this line, it also snaps to that line. It also snaps to that line. So I'm going to click like this, and you can see that it only requires 1 degree of freedom because it has snapped this other edge. Like, I would have needed to specify 2 dimensions. I would have needed to specify the length here and the length here, but the length here is already defined by the existing construction geometry that I have projected, so there's no need for that again. So what I just need to specify is this length here, and I know that the length here is 30 millimeters, and now I have a fully constrained sketch. So now what I have drawn is this, and I'm going to extrude it by a height of 10 millimeters. You can see this 20 is from here to here, this 30 is from here to here, and then the 40 is from the apex here to the bottom here. So we have that extrusion by 30, but we have already extruded by 20, so what is left over is 10. So that will be an extrusion of 10. So I'm going to click on close here, and then I'm just going to extrude my object, click on the pad operation, and then a default of 10 is already there, so I'm just going to click on OK. And finally I'm going to create another sketch on this plane as well, and that will be this. So if we look at this top here, that's 15 by this is 40 minus 30, which is also 10, so 15 by an extrusion of 10. So I'm going to create a sketch here, go to create sketch, and then firstly I'm going to project the lines so that I can use them in my new sketch, and there, and there. So now I have those lines projected. I escape the tool, and then I go to my rectangle tool, click on it like this, and then click on my that first vertex, and then I bring it close to this other line so that I can snap to it. And be careful of the things that show up in the, like, close to the mouse. So you can see right now it's telling me that, like, I have the rectangle tool and the constraints. Those are the things that are attached to my cursor. But if I bring it close to the center here, it is telling me that it is going to constrain it to the center, like to a point that is symmetrical between these 2 points here. So that is that symbol that is showing up that looks like 2 brackets, but I don't want that, or do I? I think I do actually, but I'm not going to use it so that I can dimension it. So I'm going to click here, and then the length is 15 millimeters. So I could have actually used the symmetry, because that would be in between 0 and 30, which would be 15 millimeters still. But either way, I'm now going to use the dimension tool to dimension this side to be 15 millimeters, and that's 15 millimeters, and my sketch is fully constrained. So I click on close, and then I extrude by a height of 10 again. So that gives me 20 here, 10 here, 10 here, which makes 40. So that's okay, and that makes my second object. So you see how beautiful it is. After I finished this, we created about 3 sketches right on top of each other, and we have a beautiful object here now. So you have seen how to do that. Now I'm going to use another step. Let me first save this. Let me save it as practice 2. Then I'm going to create a new file by Control N or Command N, and I'm going to create the same object now, but I'm going to create it in a different way. So let me show you how I want to create it. So I want to actually create this object by, I will sketch this face here. This face here, I'm going to sketch this face here and then extrude it through the entire length of 60 millimeters. So I don't need to like create 3 different sketches and do all of that. So I'm going to create this shape here, this like step like shape, and then I'm going to extrude it through the length of 60 millimeters. So just, we are back to our FreeCAD, and then I create a sketch. I'm going to use the YZ plane because that looks like the plane that I should use, obviously. And after that, I'm going to have my, should I use a rectangle tool? No, let's not use a rectangle tool. Let's use a polyline. So polyline, and then I'm going to just draw the rough shape of that object, starting at my origin point, of course, because why not use that constraint? So I have this, I'm going to bring it straight up so that I constrain it to be vertical, and then straight to the side, constrain it to be horizontal, then something like this, and then this, and then this. You see that the constraints are automatically being created. So I click on this again, and I think it's just 3 steps. Yes, so I'm just going to bring it here like this, and then bring it here like this, and close it back at my origin point and escape that tool. So now I would now dimension this object according to the dimensions given here in the diagram, in the orthographic view. So the total length is 50, so let me start with that, and I need to escape that tool. So escape, and then I go to the dimension tool. So the total length here is 50 millimeters, and after that 50 millimeters, I have the next one is 30 millimeters. So the dimension tool is still active, so I'm just going to do this and this. Why? Okay, so you need to bring it, you need to be careful. If you bring it straight this way, to come like this. If you bring it to a slanted way, to come like this. If you bring it straight up, it will come straight up vertically or horizontally, as you may see it. So we have this will be 30 millimeters, and then this final one will be I think 15. Am I right? I'm coming. Let me just put it like that, then I'll confirm. So we have this as 50, right? But it's not from here. I want you to see what I'm talking about properly. Okay, so you can see how my object looks like. It's like the other side. So from here to here is definitely 50, but the next dimension is from here to the back here, 30. So I did it to the front because my object is on the other side. So I'm just going to delete this. Okay, the dimension tool is still active, so I cannot click on those dimensions, so I have to press escape first. So I'm going to delete this, and then I'm going to delete this dimension as well. Then I'm going to click on the dimension tool again, and then let us dimension. So from this line to this line is I think 30 millimeters, yes, and from this line to this line here is 15 millimeters. Okay, so now we have that set, but it is still under constraint because there are still some dimensions left to do. So let's look at it again. So the height here is 20, then the next one is 30, then the next one is 40. So let us give that height. So from here to here is 20. From here, from this line to this line here, yes, I can do that, but I don't want to do that. I want to follow the diagram. So from this line to this line here is 30 millimeters, right? Then from this line here to this line here is 40 millimeters, and that is it. So you can see that my sketch is now fully constrained, and I can close this sketch and I can now extrude using the pad operation. So let me reverse that. So you see the pad operation can go in two ways. You see, this is the first direction. If I reverse it, it will go in the other way. You see that in case your work is going in the direction that you don't want it to go, you can just simply click on this reverse tool and to go in the other way. So I'm just going to click on reversed, and the total length is this length here, that's 60 millimeters. So 60. I'm going to click on OK. So we have the same object. You can see the same object, but we have done it in different ways. So let me save this also. Let me save it as practice 2.2. So we have saved this object and we have drawn it in two different ways using two different methods. In fact, using a series of different operations. But I hope the point is clear. Whenever you want to sketch an object that looks anything, you need to first look at your object and ask yourself, okay, what do I need to do first? Then what do I need to do next? Then what do I need to do next? How am I going to get this? How am I going to get that? So the next thing I want to do now is I'll sketch this object, block 3. And this is a very interesting object. There are different ways to do it, but I'm just going to use a way. If I may use another way, I would also try that. Okay, so now let's look at this object and let's break it down. So we have a base here of like 10 millimeters height, which is shown here, 10 millimeters height, and then the entire thing about the base. So this is like the front view if we look at it from this side, and then this is the side view if we look at it from this side, and then this is the top if we look at it from the top here. So we know that the length from here to here is 40 plus 10, which is 50 millimeters. That's length from here to here. And then we know that length from here to here is 20 plus 10 plus 20, which is 50 millimeters as well. So I guess I will start with, okay, I could actually start with a sketch of this L and then extrude it all the way, but for learning purposes I want to show you something else. So I will start with making a block that is a cube basically. So we have this as 50, this is also 50, and we know that the height from here to here is also 10 plus 40, which is 50 millimeters. So let me start by making a cube that is 50 by 50 by 50, then we cut it out. So I'm going to just do a Control N or Command N to create a new file, and then I'm going to create a sketch here, and I'm going to do it on the XY plane. So I'm going to create this rectangle 50 by 50. That's actually a square. So okay, to move from, okay, let me delete this because I want to show you something. So I'm going to click on my rectangle tool again, and I'm going to click on this origin point here to constrain it to the origin. So when I click and I drag, I want to put in the dimensions now. Once I input the first one, 50, if I want to move to the second one, I'm going to hit tab and I'm going to press 50. So that's how you move. Tab will move it to the second dimension. So I'm going to press escape to leave that tool alone, and I'm going to extrude this now. Firstly close. After closing, then I hit the pad operation, and then I go for a length of 50 millimeters as well. So what I have done now is I have created the whole block. I've created this whole block. So now I need to remove this middle part, so that let's see, so that I can have the L shape. right? Let's remove that middle part so that we can have the L shape. So I'm going to click on this face here, and I'm going to create a new sketch. Now what I want to have is the L shape, so I want to have a line that comes something like this and then like this. Then I'm going to cut out this other big chunk of material that I don't need. So let's see. What should we use? We can use rectangle or we can use polyline. Let me just use polyline. But first, the lines are not in this sketch, so I need to first project those geometries. So I click on this tool and then click on this line here, click on this line here, click on this and on this, then I press escape. So I'm then going to click on the polyline tool. I'm going to start from here to here, then just a bit length here, and I'm making sure that that is kind of straight, so the constraint is added automatically. Then I'm going to bring it to this, okay, and then to this point here and to this point here. So that is my L shape. Oh, this is the L shape I want, and this is what I want to cut out. Okay, so let's go on. I will show you something now. So the lines that we have, let me escape that. So the lines that we have right now, there's a line here, there's another line here, there's another line here, and here and here and here. Now the thing is that I don't actually need all of these lines. This I only need this and possibly another line here and here, because that's what I want to cut out. But I've already added all these lines, which I really don't need. But first, let me dimension it so that it's fully constrained before I create another line here and here, which are the lines that I actually need. So let me just go back to that polyline tool and put a line here and then here and press escape. So now I have all of those lines. Now the next thing I want to do is to dimension it appropriately. So we have 10, my L is 10 millimeters here and then 10 millimeters length here. Like this is 10 and this is 10. So I'm going to dimension that. So dimension, this will be 10 millimeters and then this will also be 10 millimeters. So, and that gives me a fully constrained sketch just by adding 2 dimensions. So now we are fully constrained. But the problem is that I don't need this line and this line and this line and this line. Let me show you what I want to do. So if I click on close, all of these lines are there, and what I want to do actually is to do a cut. So I want to cut this part of the object away, and I use this tool for cutting. So if I click on the pocket operation now, nothing shows up because all of those lines are there. And for your sketch to actually work, you only need a continuous section, if I put it like that, a closed wire. That is what FreeCAD calls it. So I'm going to go back to that sketch, and I am going to, so I have this line here, right? Instead of deleting it outrightly, I'm just going to turn them to construction lines. So I'm going to click on this and then use command. I'm going to hit command to highlight multiple lines. So I'm going to start again. So command, then click on this. I'm still holding the command, or for you on Windows, control key, and then click on this line, click on this line, then click on this line too. So, and then I'm going to come here. This is how you turn a line to a construction line. You come to this tool over here. So, and then I'm going to click on this. So that turns all of those lines to construction lines. You can see that they are like broken lines now all over there. So now there are no more solid lines. The software will look at them like construction lines, like lines that you drew but not with intent to like do any operation with it, just for referencing purpose. So now if I close this sketch, I can now try the cut operation again, and you see that that automatically gives me a small cut. Now I would like to, there are different ways that you can cut. So for instance, what I have here is dimension. So what is the dimension from here up to the face here? That dimension is a total of I believe 50 millimeters, right? 20 plus 10 plus 20, that's 50 millimeters. So I can put in here 50 millimeters and it cuts that whole thing up. Or if I don't like, you know, this is, let me go back here and put in the 5. So 5 millimeters, that's the dimension here. If I wanted to cut my my object up to a certain, like right now I want it to cut through everything, so I'll just go to this type here, type of cut, and then I'm going to do through all. So through all, we cut everything. It's not going to mind any dimension, it just cut through the entire object, and I'm going to click on OK. So that is what I need right now. So this is now a beautiful object that I have my L shape here. You can say, oh, we could have just drawn the L shape and all of that. Yes, I understand that, but I'm trying to show you some things about how to use FreeCAD, like the construction geometry that we've learned, like the pocket tool. That's what FreeCAD calls it, but it's more like an extruded cut, like pocket tool, like creating that kind of cut that we just did. And then the next thing I want to do is that that face, this triangular face that comes down here. So there are quite a few ways that we can actually do that, but I'm going to try a method, and I want you to follow me closely. So I'm going to go to the plane here on top, or no, not the plane on top. Let me go to the plane here under here, and I'm going to create this profile, this, like it shows it here, so like this 10 millimeters by 40 millimeters profile. Then I'm going to extrude it up, and then I'm going to cut it again. So let me show you what I'm saying. So I'm going to come to this face here, click on this face, then click on create sketch. After clicking on that create sketch, let me turn it. So if I want to turn this for my viewing, whatever, so I can just click on this again, and then bring it like that. So now I'm on this face. First things first, I need to project the geometries that are important, and these are geometries that are important. So this line here, this line here, this line here, and this line here. So we have project geometries, and then I have this line, this line, this line, and this line. So escape, and now I want to put my rectangle somewhere there. So let me put my rectangle. So I have rectangle. I'm going to click on the line there and on the other line here. So click on escape. Now I have my rectangle here, but I need my rectangle to be at the middle of these two lines. So let's see, how do I go about that? I can use the symmetry constraint here, but how do I use that symmetry constraint? Let's take a minute to see how we can do that. There are quite a number of ways we can do that. Firstly, I'm going to add a point to this rectangle, like a point to the middle of the rectangle. So let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to click on the points tool here, and I'm going to come, like if you see, I'm dragging my cursor along the line of the rectangle here, and it will change, like the constraints showing it will be showing me will change depending on where it is at the line. So right now it's showing me that if I put that point on this point where I am right now, it will be on that line, like the point will be on that line, it will not be able to leave that line, but I want it to be symmetrical, so you can see that constraint of symmetry show up. So I'm going to click on that. So that tells me that you can see this these arrows here, these small arrows here. It tells me that this point will always be symmetrical. That means that it will always be at the middle of this and this. So now the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm just going to now do another symmetry constraint, putting this point at the middle of this and this as well. So just constraint symmetry, and then I'm going to click on this, then command click on this, and then click on this. So that brings the point to the middle. So the rectangle will now be at the middle of this line whatsoever. It will always be at that middle. Then the only thing that I now need to dimension will just be the width of the rectangle here. So that's 10 millimeters. So let's do a 10 millimeters dimension. Come to dimension tool here, click on here and here. So we have 10 millimeters, and we have our sketch fully constrained. So now I'm going to close the sketch. Yes, I'm closing the sketch. So you can see that my sketch is on that face here, and now what I want to do is I want to extrude it up. So I'm going to do extrude, and I can give it the dimension of up to here, but I don't want to give it that dimension because I want to show you something else. So if I want like in the object here, you can see that the extrusion reaches the very top here, 40 millimeters. So I could come here and type in 40 millimeters length here, but I don't want to do that. I want to show you that I can extrude up to a certain face. So if I click on under this type of pad operation here, if I click on dimension, I can say up to face, and then I will be able to click on that face. So it brings it up to that face, and I say okay. So that is my simple object now. So I want you to guess what the next operation I will be doing is. What do you think the next operation I will be doing is to get this this face like this feature like this? So the next operation I'll be doing is simple. I'll be creating another sketch on this plane here, and then create sketch. So very simply, I need to project this line and this line here. So I'm going to come to project geometries, project this line, hit escape to leave that to. Then I'm going to come to polyline, and I'm going to create this to this vertex here, and then back to the first vertex. Bam. So, and then my sketch is fully constrained because I used the projected geometry. So I'm going to click on close, and then after I click on close, guess what? I'm just going to do another extruded cut or a pocket operation. So I'm going to just click on pocket operation, and I can also do up to face. You remember we did up to face for the extrude up to here. So now I want to do up to face for up to like this second face here. So on that type, I'm going to come here, and then I'm going to do up to face, and then I'm going to click on this face here. So that gives me this object here. So now we have our object beautifully oriented here. Now let's say I want to orient it in perfect isometric view. I can just right click, I believe right click, and then under drawing views or under standard views, I click on isometric view, so it brings my object exactly like that. Or I can just click, I think 0. If I click on 1, it will give me that view. If I press 2, it will give me this view. If I press 3, it will give me this view. You can see that it's changing. If I press 4 on my keyboard, I'm just pressing the digits on my keyboard. So if I press 0, it will take me back to that isometric view. So now we have this beautiful object. So in this video, I'm going to save this now as practice 3, right? Yes, practice 3. So that's it. In this video, we covered some essential things. We talked about construction lines, we talked about symmetrical tools, and we did quite a little bit about the extrude operation and the extruded cut, or the pocket operation and the pad operation. So do practice with these things that I've shared. I will be dropping a link in the description section below to the file that I use, the file that contains all of the sketches here. And in the next video, I guess we'll be sketching this block 4 and block 5 here. So I'll just drop a link to this file in the description below of this video. So please subscribe to the channel. It helps us to reach more people like you. And also like the video. Please like the video. If you have questions, you can drop it in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.